Hey, honey,
Yeah?
I've got good news.
Uh-huh.
We've got crabs. In crabs. Hold on a second. Jess, run the Kickstarter prototype alarm. Awesome. Thanks. This is a prototype. Crabs is up on Kickstarter. If it's not already, it will be soon. And so all of these components are not final. In fact, this isn't even the box from the Daily Magic printing. This is from the Mo Ideas original printing. Crabs is a set collection point scoring hand management game where every player is going to be a crabmonger who's going to bring in catches of crabs, and the crabs are adorable, and they will be selling those crabs to different customers, each of which want a specific number and type of crab, and then those customers served translate into victory points. Along the way, they'll also upgrade their crabbing gear, and they can also get premium crabs, which are worth extra points. The game is not as tiny as this tiny little box would imply. It's actually a little fussy in places. But let's take a look at the rules and see if we can't make sense out of that. So here's the setup for crabs. Up in the corner here you see just a hand of cards as though they were dealt to a player. You'll also notice that there are a couple different sections and types of cards. Here in the middle, well, these are the crabs. This is what everybody's going after, and you will both be using them to score victory points and as a mechanism by which you'll be bringing in other crabs. Up here at the top is the gear that everybody has. These are the traps and your boat and all that. And as you upgrade your gear, you'll notice these yellow stars. That means victory points, and those big numbers up at the top, those are to help bring in those crab that you'll be looking for, and I'll explain how that's done in a moment. Down here at the bottom, this is the market. These are the people who are looking to buy crabs, and the number of victory points that they're worth up at the top, and then the type and number of crabs that they're looking for at the bottom.
On your turn, there are a couple of different actions you can take. You can take 2 crabs from the pool. You can trade in some crabs from your hand for an equal value of crabs from the pool. You can upgrade your equipment, or even trade crabs in for points, but in the end, you can always just go crabbing.
So as far as crabbing goes, well, we should talk about the cards that you're holding in your hand, because the crabs that you're holding in your hand aren't really the crabs that you're holding yet. These are just crabs you might be able to fish out of the water. And so let's go over the process by which we go crabbing, and this is where the game gets a little bit finicky. Let's get down to the board. So let's say that this is my hand of cards, and I got kind of a good spread here. If I decide I'm going to go crabbing, first things first, I need rope. Any one of these cards can be sacrificed, essentially, turned upside down and used as rope. Now I can use any number of crab cards that I want, keeping in mind that the crab that I catch, and I can only catch one, must come from the hand that I'm playing. So let's say I play all of them. Let's say I play this whole mess. Now what I do is I add up the numbers on the crabs, and so I've got myself a 12 here. I would also add any gear that I had, so that's 3 more. That adds up to 15. And then I'd check the crabbing permit. And essentially, for a total crabbing score of 15 to 19, that tells me I can claim up to a 3 or a 3 stressed crab, and I'll explain what that means in a second. What it essentially means is that I can take, in this case, any one of these crabs into my hand. If, for example, I had this in the row, I couldn't because I didn't get up to the 25 I'd need to pick up this 5. But I picked the one I want, and it's either going to be one of these 3s, and you'll notice that one of them is golden and has a star, worth an extra victory point at the end of the game, and one of them doesn't, so obviously I'd want that one. Or I could take the 4, as long as I took it stressed out. Because you can always take a crab of one value lower as long as you take it stressed. One of the actions you can take on your turn is to unstress up to 3 stressed out crabs in your tableau. Keep in mind that only unstressed crabs can be sold for victory points. Now, the crabs that you don't take during crabbing go back into the pool, and the crab that you do take goes into your tableau. You can then use that crab to purchase victory points by selling them. You'll play to a certain number of victory points depending on the number of players, at which point a winner is declared. And that's how we caught crabs.
You gotta stop saying that.
Okay, fine. What'd you think?
It's cute, it's fun, it's light.
I don't know if I'd call it light. I actually don't necessarily agree with that description. I think it looks light. I think it presents as light. In this printing, there's a tiny box, and the art is adorable. I mean, the crabs are kind of hilarious looking, and the people who come to purchase them are funny too. Like, there's a guy that we thought was wearing a shirt for a long time.
He's
not wearing a shirt. But I think there's a little bit of a fussiness to the way the whole crab fishing mechanism works, with you trying to drive up that number by spending the higher value crabs, but not necessarily being able to get, because you only can ever get one crab per fishing round.
Yeah.
So you spend a lot of turns kind of manipulating your hand and getting the cards you need, and then the payoff is sometimes it's not even there, because if you get a crab for a seller but then somebody else snipes that seller, it'll change and you won't be able to do it. So I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, I kind of didn't like the tools. I think they could have been left out.
Yeah, the gears are sort of an interesting thing.
Yeah, when we were playing this game, everyone kept rushing the tools because, they're high points, they're very useful. If you're not getting the tools, then you're having a harder time getting crabs.
Yeah, the in addition to the gear being worth victory points, it also gives you this big bonus when you go crab fishing, and in no case when we were playing did someone who went straight to crab fishing, is it called crab fishing?
It's crabbing.
Crabbing. No one who went straight to crabbing did better than someone who spent the first couple of turns building up their gear. And since you don't actually need specific cards to build up your gear, you just need to discard a certain number of cards. It's easy to do, and it's kind of a no-brainer. There's no reason why you would ever not do it in the beginning of the game.
It's not very interesting.
Right, because it's a no-brainer. It's not a decision. It's just kind of there. That aside, I had fun with it. I think it's not the game it first appears, as I kind of said.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's not going to be one of my favorites.
Yeah, I thought it was okay too. I think I had a slightly better time with it than you did, but ultimately, I think that the people who are going to enjoy this most are going to be the people who are looking for something that's a hair heavier than a light game. It's kind of a middleweight game, but not really. It's not a complex game, but there's some minor complication that isn't the same as being complex somehow. Still, the presentation's fantastic. The art is great. It's very, very playable. It's just, it's not. You have to know what you're getting into when you're going in. It's not exactly what it first appears to be.
It's kind of crabby.
I'm Andrew from Gameosity. I hope you've enjoyed this last video with Jess.
I'm getting fired.
There'll be links to the Crabs Kickstarter in the description when it goes live. And until then, see you next game. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see about you.
Hey there. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, give us a like and hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you next game.